fresh and smoky. Welcome to another episode of Erik Whiskey Studies, and in this video, gonna do a review of the Wolfburn Morven lightly peated Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. It is non-Joe filtered, has a natural color. It's bought at 46% alcohol by volume and sells for about $70. Wolfburn Distillery is the most northern distillery on the mainland Highlands, located in Thurso, just before you jump on the ferry to head over to Orkney. I actually stayed in Thurso my last trip to Scotland, but I was on my way to Orkney to visit Highland Park and Scapa and didn't have the time to stop at Wolfburn. But if I'm ever in the neighborhood again, if I'm ever that far north in Scotland again, I'm definitely going to want to visit this distillery because this is absolutely a fantastic whiskey, even though it's really young. Now, a lot of whiskeys, when they're young, particularly say on the mid palate, you get these spirity new make notes, and then typically whatever cask they put them in, if it's peated, they're trying to counterbalance the youth notes and maybe even sort of cover it up. This whiskey isn't like that, although it does come across as young. Instead, and I'm not sure how they've done it, instead of trying to cover up any sort of new make character, because it doesn't come across as new makey, and yet it does have a youth, it comes across as very vibrant, very fresh. So on the nose, it is just loaded with citrus. It's like you just cut open a lemon, but it also has some grapefruit notes, and grapefruit is not a common characteristic that I find in whiskeys. The peat is there, but when I did a neck pour, I was getting all citrus and some vanilla and a little bit of spice. And then I was more on the follow through. On the back end, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, completely unexpected, boom, the peat showed up, the smoke showed up. And it was like, oh wow, wasn't expecting that. Now that it has been opened up a little bit and gotten, past the shoulders, the smoke and the peat is becoming a little bit more integrated, so it's there consistently from the start all the way through to the finish. But that vibrancy and freshness of the citrus is definitely still there. So as I said before, grapefruit, lemon zest, vanilla. It has a little bit of baking spices there as well. Slight butterscotch-like character to it, and also some real nice yellow floral notes as well. Again, flowers is not a descriptor I use a lot about a whiskey, but it's definitely there. It actually reminds me a little bit when I lived in Southern California. I lived up in the San Diego Mountains up in Ramona and would drive down to Escondido, and I would drive through orchards, citrus orchards, oranges and lemons, and would have the window down, and during the springtime, the orange blossoms would be blooming. You could really get a huge nose full of orange blossoms, getting that on the whiskey as well. And the peat and the smoke is just barely there, but it's nicely interwoven with all the citrus, vanilla, and spice. All right, on the palate. A little sweet up front. Goes a little bit more dry towards the middle. It's very zesty, very vibrant. It almost has a little tingle of a little bit of a spritzy character to it. I think the youth of the alcohol, the sort of sharp edges haven't been rounded off with time spent in oak. It reminds me of, say, a Sauvignon Blanc with real high acidity. The way in which it affects your palate almost makes your mouth water, like a highly acidic wine, like a Sauvignon Blanc or a Riesling or something like that. It kind of has that effect. So you get this mouth-watering effect. But it's not from acidity necessarily, but rather it's from the youth of the alcohol, not having its hard edges rounded off. And yet, it's not, say, aggressive and harsh on the palate. It just comes across as lively and zesty. On the mid palate, the vanillas kick in with a little bit of baking spices. and the smoke and the peat are at a moderate level. They're just, it's not real low, it's not real high, just I would say moderate. I don't know what the ppms are. If I had to guess, it turns out, at least the way it comes across as a perception, I put it at around 20 ppms. Put around 20 ppms. In terms of perception, not in terms of what they actually started with before distillation. Really long finish. I mean, I'm still tasting it now, and what you get right now is sort of a lemon cream pie, because you got the vanilla going on, you got the lemons going on, and it's very zesty and vibrant. Really nice. This is a surprisingly good whiskey, particularly for its youth. And all it does is make you say, wow, what are they going to be like when their whiskeys get even older? Because it's really good now. It's worth buying now. I find it challenging a lot of times to recommend really young whiskeys. There are some exceptions there. I find most really young whiskeys leave me wanting and leave me thinking, well, it'll be nice when it grows up. You know what I'm saying? It'll be nice, when it gets older. Oh, this will make me look forward to what it's going to be like when they have some aged whiskeys, but this right now really isn't worth the money. Well, that's not so for this one. I like this one. I like its freshness. I like its vibrancy. I like the flavors. I like the development. I like it starts off a little bit more sweet and zesty and sort of zingy in the front. Gets a little bit more creamy, a little bit more vanilla on the end. And then there's this nice, this slight, gentle whiff of smoke on the back end. Really well-crafted whiskey. Anybody else who's starting, say, a new distillery is going to be putting out young whiskeys, this is the distillery to study. This is the one to get to know, because this is when you want to model yourself after, because they're doing an absolutely fantastic job. What I'm going to give it in terms of score, I'm going to go solid 90 points. A solid 90 points. What would it take to get a little bit higher? A little time, a little age, give it a little bit more breadth, a little more depth, But for what it is right now, it's absolutely fantastic. Alrighty, if you like watching my videos, you've not yet subscribed, I ask you to subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I go live or post a new video. And if you're one of my Patreons, I want to thank you very much for supporting this work. All right, until next time, cheers.